My biggest strength in the kitchen is, by far, I can focus on what I'm doing no matter what else is going on in the kitchen. Last week in our decorating class, 4 people cut themselves. One of them had to go to the hospital and I didn't even notice. I was that focused. My favorite food to work with is just cake in general, because you can just do so much with it. I mean, you can make anything out of cake, and you can make any kind of cake. Cake is just a really versatile thing to work with, and it tastes really good. I have one recipe I make at home all the time. It's French chocolate cake, and it's more chocolate than it is cake, honestly, because it's 7 ounces of chocolate and 3 tablespoons of flour. My ideal work environment is, it'd have to be a really organized kitchen, and just one that's really organized and everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing. No one's just wandering around blind. My biggest success in culinary at this point, well, I haven't really worked in the industry any, so I'd have to say it's just coming here and taking that first step towards doing something with my life. The Art Institute's been a great influence on me because there's so many awesome people that I've met here, and the teachers are amazing, and it gives me a good idea of when I really am a pastry chef, the kind of things I want to do, like the kind of kitchen that I want to run. First time I felt like I wanted to do pastry for a living, well, I took 4 years of French in high school, and 2 of those 4 years, one of our major projects had to do with cooking. So for one of my projects, I made a cake, and it was fun and it was delicious, and I was like, why have I not done this before? Well, this cake made from a box doesn't even compare to this. Why don't people do this more often? And we're making 50th anniversary cakes, and they're supposed to look like they came straight out of the 50s and be really gaudy and have a lot of piping on them, like big drapes of swags on the sides of it. It's not so much we chose it, it is a project, but the one I chose in particular, I picked it because it looks fancy and pretty, and I like making pretty food. To make a decorated cake from scratch takes a lot of work. Week 1 we made something like almost 300 cakes to use over the course of the quarter for everyone in our class.
Wow.
Yeah, it is a lot of cake. It was a ridiculous amount of cake. It took us 5 hours to make all of that cake, and we still didn't have quite enough. We still periodically realize, oh hey, we don't have enough cakes for everyone. We're gonna have to make some more. But you have to make your cake from scratch in big, ridiculous batches and freeze it, and then you have to pull it out of the freezer and give it enough time to come to room temperature so you're not working with a frozen cake. And then you have to saw the top of it off to make it nice and flat and even and pretty, and you have to slice it in half and put your filling in, and then you have to crumb coat it with buttercream. Making buttercream's a whole nother ordeal. You have to cook sugar, and hot sugar is about as dangerous as napalm. It'll you get boiling sugar on you, and it's gonna burn through 3 layers of skin before you have a chance to react. Piping is you get a piping bag, which is essentially just a triangle of plastic. You could use a Ziploc bag if you really need to, and you have to get your piping tips. They're just little metal cones, and the tips of them are different shapes for making different things, and use them to decorate your cakes. Like if you wanted to do a swag, they have a tip that they have round tips for making straight lines, star tips for making real fancy, pretty frilly lines. They've got one specifically for making swags where it's got a big chunk taken out of the side of it, and it's so you can, when you put it around the cake, it makes it all frilly and pretty and ribbon looking. The reason I chose this one, well, I besides doing pastry, I draw too, but drawing is something I've always had to work really hard at to be good at all. But since that first time I made something from scratch, I've never really needed anyone to teach me exactly. Just I read the recipe and I can do it, and I can make it taste good and make it look pretty. So I think of this more as a talent. That's why I chose this one, because I wanted to do something I was good at and something I enjoyed. Out of the three, I'd say it is more of an art, but beyond that, baking is kind of a science. There's a lot that goes into it. Like, anybody can cook, but not just anybody can bake. Baking is a lot harder.
That's a wrap.